sub. The whole, like, I just have to make sure nobody dies and I don't show up drunk. That's like my only requirements. Maybe a college degree. I don't know. But yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian, also a substitute teacher, because I am trying to win a contest for the most amount of jobs with the least amount of respect. That's what I'm trying to go for there. Boom, nailing it. Doing great with that. Let's see. I'm married, which is a thing. Okay, I'm not. You don't have to applaud for this. You can hate all this. I don't care. You know, like you're like sub, married, I guess. I don't know. We like donuts. We like donuts. Anybody? How about that? Yeah. Why didn't I write my donut jokes? But anyway, I'm married, and I asked my wife to marry me like in a very traditional way. I got her pregnant, so that's why super traditional. Yeah. And let's see. So I got a kiddo now. He's 3, and he's crazy. He's fun. One thing, the fun thing that they don't teach you, like in sex ed or to become a dad or any of that stuff, because you want to become a dad immediately, is that your kid learns to cuss very well right away, and it's adorable. So I shouldn't be like encouraging that. I don't encourage it. It just happens, like. There's one time where he was like, he likes, he's waving to people coming along the street out the window and stuff, and the UPS man, an armful of boxes, really mad, like pushing the buzzers, trying to buzz him in. My kid's waving, and the UPS man yells at 3-year-olds like, "Open the door!" And he's 3, I don't know. So my kid turns around and he's like, "Jesus." Good job, buddy. You're getting started with that one. Can't be in the toilet, but knows how to use blasphemy very well. So we're getting there. All right, guys, we've got a lot of comedians tonight. We don't have a lot of time. I want to make sure you get to see these cool comedians that came out, because that's who you came out to see. So are you guys ready to see these great new comedians tonight? How about it, yeah? All right. First comic, get excited, get loud, get ready for Caroline, everybody!
Sadly, was the 1-year anniversary of the death of the artist formerly known as Prince. Yeah. So it was a sad anniversary, and I found myself on that occasion kind of reflecting on the tapestry of Prince's life, and I find myself quite perplexed by the fact that he was a Jehovah's Witness. And I have to think, like, my God, Prince had to have been the most sexual Jehovah's Witness in the history of the world. And I just kind of can't imagine, because you hear after his death about people in Minnesota, they love him, they talk about what it was like, that he would actually go door to door. And so I can't really imagine, like, being at home, hanging out, get a knock on the door, open the door, the other side, there's Prince. And it's like, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today, to talk about this thing called the Good Book. A reading from the Gospel according to Chaps." So I'm a recent transplant to Chicago, and that's, have friends that live in Michigan and Ohio. So I've had the pleasure or the unfortunate circumstance of driving through Indiana multiple times lately. And so, yeah, it's a curious state, and what I find most, again, I'm constantly perplexed. There are these giant, black and white signs that kind of appear out of nowhere, and they're these very hellfire and brimstone kind of messages. It's just like all of a sudden it's like you're driving along and it's like, "Hell is real!" And I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm driving through Indiana. and I think I have the right to feel superior. I'm from Ohio. So. Another thing, perplexing me is that these certain concepts lately have become almost a phenomena, or phenomena have become these movements. And what I mean by that is, how many of you have heard of Marie Kondo? She's the Japanese woman who wrote the book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. So I heard some snapping, all right. So basically, it pisses me off because that doesn't need to be a book or a movement. It could have been a Post-it note, and it could have been, "Throw your shit out!" So she's coming out with a sequel, which I hope is entitled The Life-Changing Magic of Getting Treatment for Your OCD Diagnosis. And the other phenomenon that really bothers me lately is this whole, I don't know how many women out there have heard of living my truth. So, and I love women's empowerment. I'm a feminist. hollow to me. It's like, I'm living my truth. I'm a size 0 and I ran 8 marathons. I'm living my truth. So I just find it very unrelatable. And besides that, I also think about, is that really what people want? Like, are people really that comfortable hearing what living in their truth is? Because I think, like, if you really wanted to hear what my truth was, it would be like, I've been constipated all day. Hashtag living my truth. I wore my pajama pants longer than I wore other pants. Hashtag living in my truth. So, there you go. And finally, I don't know if you'd heard, but Guns N' Roses is reuniting, and they're going to do a remake of their famous hit Paradise City. They were inspired by the current political climate. So I want to give you a little taste. It goes a little something like this. Take me down to a sanctuary city where immigrants are safe and Trump is still shitty. All eyes, please don't knock on my door. Yeah, yeah.
We're going to keep going. Next comic, big round of applause for Dan, everybody!
All right, Brian Bowden, everybody. Let's give it up for him. All right. Wow, what a crowd. That's awesome. I am really excited to be going second for y'all tonight. Mainly because I have to pee. But, no, I'm 46, so thank you. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, right? That's why you're back by the exit. I get it. That was a culture shock. Just suddenly realizing that I'm an old person. I wonder when that happened. It seemed like just yesterday I was disappointing my parents. But it's nice being out here in the city with all of the young people. I kind of live vicariously through them. You know what? Round of applause. How many millennials we have out here tonight? All right, good. Seems to me like millennials get a bad rap. Do you feel like that? Like everybody just dumps on you for everything? I don't think that's fair. I know I'm an old guy, but I like millennials. I don't think you deserve all the grief that people give you, which is, just like millennials, always getting things they haven't earned. No, don't take it personally. Our parents did it to us, their parents to them, down the line for who knows how long. You guys will get your turn eventually. I think it's just a rite of passage for each generation to find something to criticize about, the generation that's going to replace them one day, right? Which, if you think about it, was probably really hard for the generation that came before the World War II generation. It's like, so, Marjorie's boy is too busy to help his father at the hardware store. What's he doing? He's at the beach in France. People like to say millennials are lazy because they stare at their phones all day. So what? I once stared at my phone for 8 hours. It was a rotary phone. Now that's because I'm part of Generation X. Give another round of applause for all the Gen Xers out there. There's a few. I know there's more of you out there, you just, didn't feel like clapping. I did it. And, no, we didn't invent laziness, Gen X, but we awesomed the shit out of it. We made it a lifestyle. We were kind of like the Steve Jobs of, not having jobs. I'm convinced to this day that one of us would have invented the smartphone. The only problem is it was way over. Anybody remember grunge?
Yeah.
That was us. We did invent that. And I promise you, it wasn't because anyone thought looking like the brawny guy on meth was a solid style choice. No, this was a lifestyle that not only embraced laziness, it required it. Between 1991 and 1994, as a demographic, we took a total of 6 showers. And that's just because our moms wouldn't shut up about it. But no, someday, it's just a matter of time, we are going to have our first Generation X president. assuming in 4 years there's still a planet. But, the last 4 presidents have been baby boomers. Although I'm still holding out for that long-form birth certificate to prove that Obama's really one of us. He claimed he was born in 1964, but look at him, he's really from 72. But he couldn't be a Gen X though, because what's the slogan? Yes, we can. That is not a mantra to come out of the slacker generation, I promise you that. So, our first Gen X president is going to be a little more like this. People look at the challenges we face, and they say to us, no, you can't. But I say to them, yes, we would. And it's way over there. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to keep going here. Next up, give over Tim, everybody!
So I've been on a bit of a self-help spree lately. I've been looking for new activities to take as hobbies, expand my horizons, all that jazz. And one of the things I started doing was taking dancing lessons. Now, I'd never danced before, and these lessons were private, so it was me, my dance instructor, who's a guy, and his assistant, who's a girl that I would dance with. Now, I don't know how I usually come across with people, but somewhere along the line, these people had the idea that I have no idea how to interact with women. So, the first lesson I go there, I'm chit-chatting, and I begin to stand across from the girl getting ready to dance. And my dance instructor comes up to me and he says, the girl doesn't like it when her man stands far away from her. She thinks you're going to like her. And she's nodding, like, yeah, get closer to me. I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know. And I get closer to her, and I take her hand, and the dance instructor comes up and says, hold her hand tight, but not too tight. You don't want to crush her fingers. And she looks again, like, yeah, don't crush them. Like, sorry. I didn't know. That's the thing about dancing, and that's how all these lessons go. I'm trying to learn to dance, and my dance instructor is trying to give me advice on women, and after a few lessons of this, he comes up to me and he says, man, you're coming along real nice. And I'm going to turn you into such a stud. You are going to get so many dates, I'm totally going to turn your life around. And I just think, like, I didn't know I needed to turn my life around. But aside from dancing, another thing I picked up was yoga. And the thing about yoga is that I was kind of fat about a year ago, and as a runner, I was planning on just running it off, but apparently you can just be too fat to run properly, so sorry. Yeah, it's really offensive, but I started doing yoga, and the thing about it is I was hesitant at first because I had a couple of preconceived notions about it. One was that yoga is basically just stretching and breathing, and I already do those, so why waste the time doing it? And the second is that yoga is basically a cult. At that time, I had never talked to someone that had only done a little bit of yoga. Either they've never done yoga at all, or they're totally obsessed by it. They're the kind of people that would stretch and say, wow, I've totally opened up my gallbladder chakra. And that's just intimidating to me, but I eventually got roped in. And the first lesson I go to, the yoga instructor says, all right, class, let's get into Vinyasa Utkatasana pose. And I look around like, did she just say words? Were those words? But apparently they were, because everyone got into a pose. And the thing about going to yoga first is you have no idea what the instructor is saying, so you basically have to copy off the person next to you, or you can try to reason out what they actually mean. So that instructor will say, or yoga will say, all right, class, let's be in mountain pose. And like, mountain, okay, it's kind of big, got a point at the top, and oh, okay, we're raising our arms. Yeah, I totally knew we were gonna do that. Aside from the embarrassment of it, another thing about yoga is the jealousy. And I don't know if this is true for other yoga studios, but in mine, the yoga instructor will come around and start massaging people. And at first I thought this was gross when it happened to me. Like, why do you want to massage a fat, hairy, sweaty man? What's wrong with you? But after a while, I started really liking it. And more than that, when they would choose someone else and not me, I'd get jealous. It's like, why are you going over to massage them? I thought we had a real thing here. When I came in and you smiled at me and said we'd be in Studio 2, I felt a real connection there. I thought we had something real. Now you're going over to them? And it was really traumatizing, honestly. And The thing about yoga is they always hail it as some sort of mental exercise, but I don't think I ever really gained much there. Honestly, I don't even think I gained much physically. But I can say that I really feel like I've opened up my gallbladder chakra.
All right, let's keep going. Next up, give it up for Paul, everybody!
So, I go to my parents' house every other weekend, and I'm not going to go to my parents' house this weekend, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. So I have this nephew. I have nephews, you know, and there's this one particular nephew. He's 11 years old. He's really cool. He's a cool kid. He's a soccer player, you know. He's into video games. He's into all those YouTube videos and everything like that. So I walk into the house, and comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Uncle Paul." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" He's like, "Do you want to see a scary video?" And he's trying to challenge me, and I'm looking at my little nephew. I was like, "Oh, you want me to see a scary video?" I'm looking at him like, "All right, let's do this. I got this." I ain't never scared. East side, I ain't never scared. Northwest side. So we go down into the family room. You know, we go in the family room, and he pulls up this whole playlist. Look at the whole playlist. I'm like, "You see that whole playlist right there, Drake?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm gonna play that whole darn thing." He's like, looks at me like, "Dude, you're nuts," but I'm gonna do it anyway. So we play the first video, and it's called "Obey the Walrus," and it's really demonic. It's crazy. It's about this, you know, tranny lady, you know, guy actually, and she's going up towards the camera, and it's all weird, and it's kind of freaky, kind of scary. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I play a Fantastic There Is Nothing, and the Fantastic There Is Nothing, there's this robot, and what it's doing is dancing, right? And it's singing, "I feel fantastic." And you look out into the windows in the backyard, and supposedly that's where he buried the dead bodies and stuff. It's creepy, whatever, and like, whatever, I'll play this third video. Third video, dining room, there is nothing. So I'm playing it, you know, I'm ready to play it. My nephew, you know, he's starting to take off on me. I'm like, okay, he takes off upstairs. I'm like, shh, whatever, I ain't never scared anybody. He's like, so I play it, and there's a girl at the dining room, and she's just sitting there, and she's just like, boom, she dies. And then she wakes up, and she says, "There is nothing." And right before she gets to that, my nephew runs downstairs. He's like, "Turn it off, turn it off, turn it off." I'm like, "What's going on? What's going on? Turn it off, turn it off." I'm like, "Where's the remote? Where's the remote?" He's like, the iPad. I'm like, "I thought it was a Kindle." He's like, "Turn it off, turn it off." I turn it off. I'm like, what's going on? He runs up to me. He's like, "You're fucked." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm fucked?" He's like, "You're cursed." I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm cursed." You ever watched the movie The Ring? Where, you know, like you watch the movie within 7 days you're gonna die? Well, there's actually movies like this. I'm like, "Oh fuck." So I Googled what I just watched. Supposedly some girl got fired, another guy died, and a girl, they got F's on the report cards. I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm fucked." That's it. You know, that's it. And I got a car ride home, you know, and I drove home. I could have sworn somebody was in my back seat. I didn't even want to look back. So I went home. I got into my room, got into the sheets, ready to go to sleep. I fell asleep scared. Like I went to sleep scared, okay? I wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm scared. I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. And I can swear, like, there's somebody looking at me, and I don't want to look. But I don't know, my mind's playing tricks on me or something, but somebody's there, and I'm sleeping. Oh my God. Boom, I look, nobody's there. My God, thank God. This went on for 4 nights straight. I was just freaking out. Before every room I walked in, I would have to turn in the lights. I'd have a broomstick, you know, to see if anybody's there. You know, nobody's there, throw it away. Okay, check it out. Go in there like, yeah, casually, like I'm the man, which I sure as hell was not, you know. And then I go to my parents' house, my nephew's like trying to talk to me. He's like, "It's okay, Uncle Polly. You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, I'm all right, you know, just don't be watching those videos, you know, they're just not good for little kids, you know." And I pulled my sister off to the side, and shut me, "Watch your kids, you know." She's like, "Oh, no, you know." But, you know, I totally recommend you guys go ahead and watch it, because I'm still alive. Thank you.
All right. Next up, let's get Daryl out here.
Alright guys, so I just somewhat recently moved to Chicago from Wisconsin. Lived in a very small town, Wisconsin. And I did love it. I loved it growing up there as a kid, but I just knew I couldn't be like an adult there. Like I couldn't be like a dad because I compare myself to my dad, and my dad is just a man. And he just raised such a pussy for some reason. I don't know what happened. So I know that he just gets up in the morning, like has sex with mom, and, like grabs the axe next to his bed and cuts down a couple trees, and he goes to work. I don't get up before 10. I know that he had chest hair in like 3rd grade. And, like I just started getting chest hair. Like with Dad, it's always like his chest, like his shirt, always looks like there's like 100 daddy long legs trying to get out. Like, just so long. It's disgusting. Whereas like mine, my whole life has just been like with God, just like super glued, like 2 daddy long legs to my nipples. It's sick. But no, it's been fun. I've really loved Chicago so far. Like the big difference, like everyone's always asking me like the transportation, the buildings, people. Like the weirdest thing was, like when I would introduce myself to people in Wisconsin, they always be like, oh, hey, my name is Daryl. And they say, nice to meet you, Daryl. But when I was in Chicago and I do it, they go, hey, my name's Daryl. And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, my name's Daryl. Like, Dale? Like, no, Daryl. Well, what I found out was, apparently Daryl's a black man's name. Did you guys all know that? Yeah. Okay. Well, in Wisconsin, I didn't know that because there are no black people there. There's nobody there. Okay, nobody told me. Nobody gave me a heads up. Like, I just feel like my parents, I don't know how they came up with that name. I don't think they know either. Like, I feel like the doctor was like, he came from like an urban city, but he moved to a small town. And like when mom was like, pushed me out, and I came out, and he saw like this like bag of flour with red hair. Like he was like making a sarcastic joke to my dad, like, it looks like it's a Daryl, like it's a black baby. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. Let's call him Daryl. That's an awesome name. He's like, really? Is it you sure? That's what you're gonna go with? And they spelled it D-A-R-Y-L-L, which nobody has ever spelled that name before. So it's been really fun trying to explain that to people down here. But I've made some black friends, which is super exciting for me. And my good black friend, his name is Josh, which is the whitest name ever. So he invited me one time to go out and watch basketball. That's not a racist comment, that's what we did. And he said he had 2 buddies that he wanted me to meet. I'm like, cool. So like, I don't know what I was thinking about. We're like khaki pants, just the worst, whitest, stupidest shirt you could ever see. I was the whitest person in the history of white people. So I walk in and meet him, and he's there, and he played football at Tennessee, and he had 2 other people that played football as well. So like I walk in, I'm like the biggest pussy in the world, the 3 of the coolest guys I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. So we sit in a booth, at this small booth, I'm just crouched in there. And like every story I told sucked, and I could just tell they wanted to fucking kill me. But it was fun, like when the waitress came, and we had to split up our bill, and their names, so there's Josh, Steve, Dave, and Daryl. So we gave her all 4 cards, like, oh, figure it out. So she takes them, she comes back, and she's going through the cards, and she gave me Josh. I'm like, nope. Dave, nope. Steve, nope. You're Daryl. I'm like, yeah, I'm Daryl. So eventually, after we left there, they invited me to a party. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. God, yeah, I'll go to a cool black person party. It sounds awesome. So I show up. I'm the only black person, or the only white person there. I have a black name, but I'm not. So I show up, and I'm sitting there, I think I'm pretty cool, I'm holding a beer, and some guy comes up to me and he goes, you know, you just kind of look like you watch a lot of The Office. And it's actually my favorite show, and like everybody there was like laughing, and like another guy steps up, he's like, you know, your name just kind of look like you should be like a Eugene or something, and everybody starts laughing. So my response was I was like, well, the only black thing about me is that my name is Daryl. And I should have stopped there. And I said, and my parents even kind of spelt it stupid, like your parents do your names. They were pretty cool about it. So now I have a bunch of black friends with a black name, and I'm a lot cooler than everybody in this building. Thank you.
All right, next up, get it from Mark. Mark, everybody!
Hey everybody, we got any immigrants in the house? Round of applause. At least one? Come on, Chicago. Alright. I'm an immigrant, so I'll give myself a round of applause. When I was born, I found myself in a refugee camp in Austria. And I know you guys are wondering, but no, I did not have a pet koala. This wasn't Bindi Irwin crying into her Vegemite. This was Cold War Eastern Europe that I was born in. So I didn't have a koala. My pet was cabbage. You're born in Austria when your dad names you after what he finds in his pocket, the Deutsche Mark. So technically my name is dollar bill, y'all. You know you're an immigrant if you've never been to Disney World, but you've been to the Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland 11 times. Like seriously, my family took me there so often as a kid that they desensitized me to the Holocaust at an early age. When Schindler's List came out and everyone was watching it, tears streaming down their face, my perverted 12-year-old self was like, there's boobies in the gas chamber. Despite being a born-again, I'm not German, so I can say that. Despite being a born-again Austrian, my dad is Persian. Persian, in case you didn't know, is a sexier way of saying Iranian. When I talk to people in Persian, they're like, ooh la la, Dubai, Sex in the City, too. When I told them I'm Iranian, they just want to waterboard me. And it's not as much fun as it sounds. Even if you do it in a sexual way, there's zero cowabunga there. One of the first Persian words I ever learned was kosekesh. Growing up, I always thought this was Farsi for wife or spouse. But later, as an adult, I learned what it meant. And I came to the realization one day that throughout my whole childhood, my dad was saying to my mom, pass the salt, pussy stretcher. And I was like, Dad, stop! My mom's like, shut up, Dollar, I know what it means and I like it. My dad also had cute little nicknames for his half Polish one-blood children. He liked to call me Polak number 2. My dad's cute nickname for my brother Jake was Polak number 3. Like, Dad, who's Polak number 1? Like, no Polak will ever be number 1 in my eyes. Don't even try. Despite all this, my Middle Eastern father liked to break stereotypes, so he became a Chicago cab driver. He didn't fly magic carpet like all his Iranian friends. Driving a cab is dangerous, and the Department of Labor says the cab driver is 20 times more likely to be murdered while working than any other American worker. And for my dad, it was even harder because he juggled this really dangerous job with babysitting my brother and I in the front seat. So he's a pretty smart guy because he didn't have one, but he had 2 human shields. It was still better than my other nanny, Super Mario Brothers 1 arcade game at the Cicero flea market. It was like, ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba, Dad? My dad liked flea markets because he liked to haggle everywhere. And I've had to say to him more than once in my life, which is pretty embarrassing, Dad, this isn't the Grand Bazaar. This is Sears. They're not going to give you a free washer or dryer just because you bought shoes. Stop yelling at everybody. And he'd look down at me and he'd say, Be quiet, pull out number 3. I know what I'm doing. You of all people should know to appreciate every dollar. Alright. Thanks, guys.
Alright, we're gonna keep going. Next up, give it over to Steve!
So, I'm 26 now. Oh. Or just take that. So I'm 26 now. Which is hard because 25 was one of the best years of my life. I learned a lot when I was 25. Mostly I learned that dating is very hard. The bar scene was not very good to me. I felt like most women looked at me the way they would look at meth. If you were smart and beautiful, you wanted nothing to do with me. If you were a little adventurous, it took a couple drinks. And if you were missing teeth and from Kentucky, you looked at me like I was your cousin. So dating was not fun. I moved over after trying all these things, and I started looking at my friendships and started saying, you know, I've been friends with this person for so long, let's give this a shot. And I was friends with this girl for about 10 years. She had boyfriends, I had girlfriends. Everything was great. And one day I started catching the feelings. So I pushed back. And she was like, you have to come over. You come to my party every year for Memorial Day. And I didn't get out of it. So I get to the party, and everybody's there. Brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, the cousin that nobody wants to invite is there. And I see my best friend in the corner, Jack Daniels. I start ripping shots with Jack. And after about 12 shots, I ask her, hey, let's go for a walk. She's like, yeah, you're pretty drunk. I can't have you around these people. Let's go for a walk. And we go for a walk, and I start doing the weird stuff, guys. I start grabbing her hand. She pulls away. I start rubbing her back, and she starts walking faster. I can feel the tension in the room. It's getting crazy. So finally, I go full Taylor Swift. Say, when are you going to realize I'm the guy you should be with? She turns around, and she says, you slept with my best friend at my brother's wedding. Which was a fact. And the most romantic thing I could think of at that time was, yeah, and you could have joined. She said some things, I said some things. You guys know how conversations work. She ran back to the party to go talk to her family. I ran back to the party to grab the last friend I had, the Jack Daniels. And I got into my car to commit a few more crimes. Drinking and driving, texting and driving, and apparently I sent her a text message saying I meant every word that I said, and we will talk about this in the morning. And I woke up the next morning, and I sent her a text saying, I was only partially kidding about you joining. And after 25 years, I learned that the way through to a woman's heart is not through her best friend's vagina. Thank you, guys.
Steve Andres! All right, coming up next, let's give it up for Dylan!
Alright, so I'm not a very good driver. I've just done a few things, speeding tickets, totaled a car, fell asleep at the wheel a few times, smaller stuff. And so one winter break, I needed to drive home from school. I went to school in Ohio, and I needed to drive home by myself. It's a big thing for me, it's late night. I had to write a paper. I'm not a very good driver, like I said. And so I'm getting calls from my mom 5-10 minutes, like, hey, you still awake? Yeah, I'm good. I got this. Got this, Mom. I got this. So I'm about midway through Indiana. I'm cruising. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty proud of myself. No tickets, no accidents. I hadn't fallen asleep, slightly once. But so that was good. And next thing I know, the car in front of me just slams on their brakes. Slam on my brakes. Everybody stops. Crisis averted. Next thing I know, this car from behind just comes up and slams me. Clothes go flying. I haven't done laundry since Thanksgiving. And cars just go. Clothes are going everywhere. I'm like, oh God. I'm all right. Look around. Good to go. Pull over to the side. I check in the car behind me, and it's a car full of Asians. No stereotypes here. Okay, I'm the bad driver in this story. So go back and ask them if they're all right. I start to realize they're exchange students from China. They really don't understand what I'm saying. So I meet with them. Everybody's okay, but their car's totaled. Their names are Jian, Shun, Jean, and Carrie. So immediately I was like, Carrie, girl, all right. Carrie and I started talking, and I found out that they're going to Chicago. I'm going to Chicago. I got 4 spots in my car. Hey, you guys want to hop on in? So yeah, I don't quite know if they knew what I was saying, but they got in the car. So they all get in the car. Look at the clothes. Nah, it's an American cultural thing. It's fine. Smell it before you sit down. It's all good. So they all get in the car. We're cruising. Turns out they're all Brad Paisley fans. And rolling along through Indiana, and it's about 11 o'clock now. And Jian, who's sitting in the front seat, looks over to me. Like, hey, are you hungry? Heck yes, I'm hungry. What are we getting? Thinking McDonald's, Subway, not Panda Express. Like I said, it's not a racist story at all. All right? And so Jian they look and they kind of talk to each other, and he's like, looks at me. Let's go up to Hooters. Give him one of those double takes. Even though he said it, I had to look at him twice. Hooters, really? Sure. Hooters. Let's go, man. So we end up going to the Hooters in Maryville, Indiana. And so, prefacing this, all those dirty clothes, those were all my clothes. So I'm wearing, it's going home for Christmas, so I'm wearing a button-down shirt. I have like this plaid red and green grandma's jacket. And then a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer tie that went about 4 inches above my belly button. And so we walk into Hooters. I look like I'm kind of giving them a tour kind of thing. Look like a giant tour, like a woman tour guide, sort of, long blonde hair going on. And everybody starts looking at us. Everybody's like, see people pulling out their phones. People are kind of like Googling what to do in these situations in the Hooters. Yeah, it's good, it's fine. And Jian he walks right up to the waitress, orders 3 different sauces. We get a ton of wings. This is the first man I've ever met in my life that I can honestly say went to Hooters for the wings. He did. Love them. Absolutely love these wings. Pick them up, put it in, take it out, we're moving on. And he was just absolutely crushing these wings. Everybody in the whole place starts looking at us. And, all right, my man, okay. And so, everybody, we finished at Hooters, driving back, they're staying in a hotel that night. I got their numbers, I wanted to, try and text them a little bit. Personally, I was about to graduate college, I needed a job, I want to be ambassador to China, why not? Seemed like it was gonna fit. But fortunately, I never text back, so still waiting out for that one. Thank you.
All right. Next up, good for Alex. We got Alex.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? So, bucket list. Anybody got a bucket list? Anybody thinking about bucket lists? Anybody got a good one? Bucket list? Anyone down here got one? No, nothing on there. How about you? What's on your bucket list?
Go to New Zealand.
Go to New Zealand. That's a good bucket list. I've always wanted to go. to the Australian area of the world. But no, I completed a bucket list thing last year. I drove from Navy Pier to Santa Monica Pier, Route 66. It was pretty cool. Once I got there, I ended up doing Molly and playing skee ball for 4 hours, which was interesting. I have no doubt that the guy behind the counter was freaking out. You know, he's down back there kind of dealing with kids. And me and my friend are playing skee ball. It's like, watch this. And I'm like kind of leaning back and trying to do that. That's Molly, by the way. If anybody's ever done Molly, you orgasm every time you touch something or do something fun. So, anyway, the real reason I bring up bucket list is because nuclear war seems to be in the news again. It's been a while. One way during the 50s, Cuban Missile Crisis, but sure as shit, we're back. I know that today North Korea tested another ballistic missile that could just decimate Seoul, South Korea, just blow it up, and Trump replied with, "Oh, very good chance we have a major conflict with North Korea." This is like the last thing I wanted, right? This was like on November 9th. The whole thing was, I hope he doesn't get into a nuclear war with anyone. 100 days in, here we go. So, of course, my broke ass is thinking, this is a great time to get a flight to Seoul or Tokyo. I really want to go there too. It's like Australia, but I don't know if we're gonna get the chance. So, yeah, I don't know if people know like what these bombs really are. They're weaponized stars. They take like the chemical reaction from the sun that gives us heat and life and just wreak death on everything below it. And which is similar to when we sent Dennis Rodman over. No word of that basketball game is going to work out between peace with North Korea and us, but I never thought Dennis Rodman would be relevant today, right? Like, I didn't think I'd be making a Dennis Rodman joke. I thought that was over. But now, like I said, here we are. The crazies have taken over, and wouldn't have been surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon Trump puts Dennis Rodman as an ambassador over there. Kim Jong-un, that's his name. Fuck. Kim Jong-un seemed to like him. They got along great. Played basketball with Dennis Rodman. I'm done with Dennis Rodman. That's all there is on that. But yeah, I don't know. The weaponized stars bother me. The largest one is in Russia. Great. And it's the Tsar bomb. The Tsar bomb is what they call it. And you could see the flash from over 4,000 kilometers away when they released it in 1975. They only made one. It wasn't for the military or anything like that. It just was there to show off, I guess, what they could do. The radioactive fallout of the Tsar would kill everyone in Oklahoma, which, I mean... I got a story. I went through Oklahoma once and they charged me $45 to use their toll road. So I'm okay with a little bomb going off in Oklahoma, not a big one. Hopefully where the Department of Transportation, the State Department of Transportation is, maybe I get my $45 back, double the rent. But yeah, so but we're gonna go to war with those. There's a real chance we go to war with those. So go to Australia or go skee ball on Molly. That's a great time. I recommend it. Thanks, guys. Have a great time.
Alex, what's up, guys? All right, let's keep this going. Next up, David. Ramos, David.
So how many of you people here have a family? Let's hear a round of applause for families. All right. However, if you do not have a family, we can always put you up for adoption. However, if you are not white, that's going to be a longer time. So that's fine. In fact, you probably won't even get adopted. We've all dated, right? Hmm? Yeah. You ever meet the in-laws or whoever, the people, your significant others, parents? Well, I was dating this girl, Melissa, a number of years ago, and she had this weird family. It was actually normal and a little too perfect. I mean, the house was immaculate. It was clean, it was organized, and the dogs were well behaved. I'll tell you what, at my parents' house, if the house is clean, it means one of three things. It either means that the cleaning woman who says here, the house is up for sale, or the dogs just died. Okay? Here's the worst part of Melissa's parents, though. They actually loved each other. And her dad said that his mom, or her mom, was his soulmate. I was like, his soulmate? This guy sounds like he's in fucking like Disney romantic comedy. And I'm like, you wanna know how my parents express their love? My dad told me one day he planned on going to hell. When I asked him why, he says, I just wanted to spend eternity with your mother. Now, Melissa's family, though, was very much like mine, up in middle class, white, but no one was in therapy. No one had self-esteem issues. No one was on antidepressants, and no one had any sort of like ADHD or mood disorders. And I'm like, that's gotta be really weird. Like, how do you people function? But we were at the dinner table. I was at Melissa's house for dinner, and not only did they get along, they seemed to bond. And one time, Melissa like screwed up something at work, and her dad says, "Well, now, don't worry, princess, you'll be fine." You want to know what happens in my family when I screw something up? Take my brother, for example. He told me to install a door latch, so I did. A week later, what happens is that he texts me a picture of the door latch. He says, "What the fuck is this?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. It looks like you just hired unqualified labor." And then, of course, my dad butts in because it's a group text, and he says, "No, Danny, it's your fault. Your brother's mechanically retarded. You should know that. You should have hired your 3-year-old son." It's kind of true, unfortunately. Now, here's the thing. I always use my phone because I have terrible ADD, and I cannot remember my lines. Thanks, Brian. But I was in Melissa's house, and she says, or her dad does something embarrassing, and like they were fine with it. They was okay with it. And when I do something, or my family does something embarrassing, I always shake my head and I say, "God, I hate my family." And my dad always says, "Not as much as we hate you." And my dad plays favorites with his kids, but he doesn't really say that. And Melissa's parents didn't. As a matter of fact, they always gave the politically correct answers. "Well, both my children are my favorites, and they're very special to me in different ways." What my dad says, "Dave, you're my favorite son." And he always adds, "Other than your brother." One time, Melissa got off the phone with her sister and ended the conversation with an "I love you." And "I love you? Are you fucking kidding me? Is this 1950s Leave It to Beaver episode?" You wanna know how my phone conversations end with my brother? 2 words: fuck off. But unlike normal families, we don't hold a grudge. Matter of fact, usually 10 minutes later, after I've told my brother to fuck off, he'll call me back and ask me, "So how'd your day go?" I'm like, you know, the usual normal shit. Thank you.
All right, we're down to our final comic of the night. So you guys have been an amazing audience. Let's keep this going for our last comic. Give it for Jim!
So here I am in the coveted 5 minutes before you can get a drink spot. So I'm going to try to make this as long as possible. Have you noticed everybody seems to be wearing these fitness devices on their wrists now? You know, it seems like it's everywhere. And you think for the number of Fitbits and iWatches and everything else you have there, you see a lot more fit people. And you know, I seem to see the opposite. It seems like there's less fit people. I think people convince themselves that, you know, if I buy one of these devices, I don't have to exercise anymore. It's kind of like you go and you buy an iWatch, and then you cancel your gym membership. And it's even funnier sometimes you see people have one on each wrist. And you know, you wonder if that's a fashion statement, Or maybe they're just trying to cut their workout time in half. 150 was 150, I'm done. But I don't wear one because it doesn't give me information that I need. All right, I only exercise for 2 reasons. One, so I can eat, and the other is I can drink excessively. Right? So anybody that tells you any different is either a professional athlete or a liar. That's the only reason why you would do something like that. So I think what they need to do is come up with a device that's going to give people like me, give people like us information that we really want to know. Right? So instead of calories and steps, how about beer and cake? All right? So here's how it works. So you get out your app and you go to the screen so you can synchronize it, Bluetooth it on your little device. And there's a menu there. All right, category, beer. Right? Type, double IPA. Quantity, 6-pack. No, 12-pack. Right? So now you start going. All right, you're going, you're working it out, and as you look, you just see these 12 empty bottles on your iWatch. You're going, and the faster you go, the faster they fill out. You know you got a good night coming. But you really don't want to be around me when I work out. I'm pretty gross. I sweat like a pig. There's some people they can wear one of those Arctic coats when they work out, and there's not a drop of sweat. Me, I start sweating about 2 hours before I go to the gym. and it comes from everywhere. It's every pore. I didn't realize your fingernails could sweat, but when I'm done, it's coming out of there. And I'm also really noisy. And that's just going up the stairs to the locker room. It's really bad. So about a week ago, I went to a spin class. It's a room full of bikes that go nowhere. And people sit on these bikes on a regular basis, and they leave all these deposits on there, so you get in there. It's kind of like a petri dish with pedals, And so the instructor says, we're going to climb this hill in 3 stages. So by the first stage, there's a moat that's formed around my bike, and it's starting to kind of sway a little bit. I'm getting seasick because there's so much water there. It's taking up some buoyancy. By the second stage, the people around me have put on ponchos because as I'm pumping my arms and shaking, there's stuff flying over the time. And as in the third stage, I'm having my death cries, and I'm asking for last rites. But I finally get to the top, and I look up, and there's the instructor, and he's reading the manual for the defibrillator. And I stand back, okay, workout's done. But the best part of the workout for me is the stretch. You've done all this hard work, and now you can get on the ground, kind of lay out there. And, you don't really have to do much. You can, just move your shoulder or move the leg. Nobody knows what you're doing over there. You can get on one of those rollers and go back and forth and order a pizza on your phone. I think that's what people do when they do that. And then, you're very territorial about your stretching spot. It's like, you're there and you kind of have an eye out the whole time. Oh, I'm sorry. Stretching out arm. No, you can't say, oh, sorry, I need this one too. But my favorite part of the stretch is I've taken a spot from a yoga position called Savasana. It's called the dead pose. Basically, you lie on the floor and you don't do anything. I think it's Hindu for lazy shit. So there's one time that I was doing the Savasana, and I said, I'm going to really get into this. So, get on the floor, I'm laid out, relaxing my feet, feeling good. Relaxing my knees, my thighs, my hips. Get the butt down, that feels good. Shoulders back, hands, close your eyes. I'm really concentrating on this. Next thing I know, somebody's shaking my shoulder. Come on, buddy, it's time to close the club. Thank you.
Round of applause for all the comedians you saw tonight. Thank you guys for coming out. That's everything. Let's go get drunk. Good night.
That was good. That was good. He was so good. He does sweat, but
does. Oh my God. Well, as soon as you're